What up, my fellow dorks? It is the Turtle Dork back with a new recap and review for Game of Thrones Season 2, Episode 2. Here, partner in crime, Disco. Alright, so we just got through Season 2, Episode 2. That was a pretty good episode. What was the name of that episode?
It's called The Night Lands. This one's also directed by Alan Taylor, who did the first episode of Season 2. Or was that Neil Marshall? No, it was Alan Taylor.
I think it was Alan Taylor. He's directed a lot of episodes for Game of Thrones. Shout out Dark World, Thor, The Dark World.
I like that movie, man. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. Anyway, episode 2 of Season 2, The Night Lands, starts off with...
opening scene, Arya. Picking up where we left off from the last episode where we revealed that she's on the road headed to the wall for the Night's Watch.
Gendry.
Yeah. So, which actually is funny because the episode opens with her taking a piss, which kind of plays into a scene that she has with Gendry later in that episode.
That's right.
Because she's posing as a boy, because the Night Watch doesn't take females, doesn't take women. So the thing that I really took away from that opening scene was actually the introduction of the character Jaqen or Jaqen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's the man of many faces.
Yeah.
And we all know the implications of her meeting him for the first time, and actually going back to rewatch this because I never really knew that first introduction of his character and how they initially met.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he's caged in there with those other two guys. That may have been from either a previous episode or from last season. I can't remember exactly.
No, I don't think so. I think this was just his introduction, and I think. And it's funny that you mention that because when we first see him, he is in a cage with like two other dudes.
Yeah.
And he's asking Arya for water. She's walking past.
Yeah.
And that was the thought in my mind was, I wonder what, knowing him from later on in the series and what he truly is and what he can truly do, that when I saw him this time, I had this what if, like what was his story leading up to him, like how did he get in this thing, like is he there on purpose or whatever, because with that guy, like what he comes from, it could be any number of reasons, and some of them could be freaking like crazy, you know what I'm saying, like maybe he knows, or he's trying to get to Arya or whatever, like I don't know, but it's funny, like when I first see him, I'm just like, man, what's his story, like what type of espionage, or like what did he do to get into that cage?
Yeah, so that was a great scene. Also in that scene too, I thought was pretty cool was when the King's Guard comes because they basically have a warrant to look for Gendry.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the other guy's name that basically took Arya out of there, but one of the guards has a confrontation with that guy, and he pretty much just tells him he's about to basically cut his arteries. Like, look, you guys need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody here. Like, whoever you looking for, we ain't got them. These are all people going to the Night's Watch. I just thought that was a badass scene too, but also just kind of showing you how they're able to kind of raise the tension and the stakes, because when those guards come, because of everything that happened at the end of season 1 with Ned Stark, you're thinking they're there for Arya.
Even Arya thinks that. Yeah,
even Arya thinks that, and even at the end of the last episode, knowing about Robert Baratheon's bastards, you kind of have this tension for Arya and Gendry in that moment.
Yeah.
So I thought that really worked in that particular moment as well. Going back into like the small council meeting with Tyrion and Cersei, with the whole meeting with the message with the Raven for Castle Black.
Right.
Because we get a message from Commander Mormont from the Wall saying that they need more men, and then this goes to your point about the whole thing where they would just throw in like these little nuggets about the Night King and the White Walkers and what's beyond the Wall. Especially like with everybody in King's Landing, because they're not concerned with any of that stuff, not knowing the implications of all that stuff that's going to happen. So this kind of gives you like just one of those little nuggets that they just kind of throw in there. It's like you say, it just constantly reminds you that there's still this threat that's up north.
And so it's funny because like Cersei is so far removed from any of that stuff that she's early in the season, well, in this episode, you see her literally laugh it off.
Yeah.
As she's walking out of that small council meeting, saying, "I have every faith that." Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, basically, "I have every faith that the Night's Watch will keep them at bay, and I don't have shit to worry about." And it's funny that, and that's what you're talking about as far as like what the show does is like, so mainly the show focuses, especially in the first half of the series. The show is really heavy into everyone's subplot and the vying for the throne. Everyone wants the actual throne. But periodically the show peppers in things like you're mentioning about goings on above the wall and the Night King and things like that, to remind us that there are supernatural things going on above the wall, and also there are things that are more pressing and larger in scope than what these people
are dealing with.
Because at the end of the day, like, and we're going to talk about it in a few minutes when Theon goes back home to the Iron Islands and his father's there. I'm looking at his father. I'm just looking at that whole entire scene, the production. And I'm thinking like, damn, what does a king do all day? Because it must be boring as shit. Like, he don't have a TV, he don't have radio, he don't have internet. Plus that castle looks decrepit. It looks like he hasn't. They've seen better days. So like, what does he do all day? So I'm thinking about like his daily life. And then it leads me to thinking about everyone else's daily lives. Like, what they're dealing with is their entire world. Like, seriously, all she knows is the bureaucracy and the backstabbing and all this shit that's going on in King's Landing to vie for that throne. That's all everyone knows. That for the people of Winterfell, for the Starks, all they know is basically this life of misery because their families getting killed off one by one.
Exactly.
And in spite of all that, there is this other larger looming threat that's coming. And I like how the series, even though we spend a lot of time with these other characters, peripheral characters and subplots, every once in a while they'll throw in this thing like, don't get too lost in all of this diplomacy and all that stuff. We got some crazy shit coming. And I like how the back half of the series double down and pay off on that,
But it also kind of mirrors the audience, especially like people who aren't familiar with the books and don't really know a lot about it. It also kind of mirrors our experience watching the show. Because we're almost like the people of King's Landing and all these other people. We get so caught up in like all the intrigue as far as like the games that they play for the throne and all the battles and the wars, and then we hear about this stuff and we see it, but then we get distracted by it as well until we get further into the season when we start to follow Jon Snow, and then we see like wait, maybe we need to start focusing on something else. And then we get later in the seasons, Snow is saying like, look, you guys are fighting over all this other stuff, man. This other thing gonna wipe everything out. So I like how it kind of plays on our experiences that as well for the people who don't really know and experience this for the first time.
So we also catch up with Tyrion. He walks in on Viserys and Shay having a conversation.
That's right.
This is piggybacking off of last episode when we see that Tyrion has brought Shay to King's Landing. He's like, all right, look, if you're going to be here, you got to keep a low profile because you're not supposed to be here. So don't talk to anybody. Don't, stay away from everybody. Just stay in these quarters. That's why, like, when Tyrion comes into that room and see Viserys, he's like, I just told you not to say nothing. And of all people, she's sitting down talking to the spider. Which is the worst person. Like, it's either him and Littlefinger. The two people, like, you just don't want to walk into the room with her talking to them people. And she walks into the room. He walks into the room, and she's talking to Viserys. Which I thought that was a great scene too, because again, we talked about it last episode where you have one of the great things that Game of Thrones does well is how you have these two strong characters, and I'm not talking about this scene specifically, but I mean last episode we had Cersei versus Littlefinger and battle of the wits and the battle of the tongue, and you kind of get that here in this scene, with the confrontation between Varys and Tyrion.
That was, and I was trying to remember exactly because I didn't really pick up on the fact that Shay, like, he brought Shay there in secret and trying to keep her away. But now, since you said that makes a lot of sense, especially having that kind of, and knowing the character of Varys and how sneaky he can be. I thought that was really good. I want to jump to that scene at Craster's place with Sam and Gilly, when we see them interact for the first time, and you start to see the beginnings of that kind of budding romance that we see now in season 7.
Yeah.
But so we see the beginnings of that, but also in that as well, we get the information that she's pregnant. Also what plays into the end of this episode, she throws in the fact that if she has a boy, but she doesn't tell, like, so they go to Jon Snow to say, because Sam is like, look, this is Gilly, we got to try to sneak her out of here. And Jon Snow's like, look, we can't take her with us. We're on this mission. Like, we're headed towards the north for towards the wildlings. We can't take, so especially if she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And so I guess she's like, look, if I have I can't, let him take my son if I have a boy. And Jon Snow's like, well, if you have a boy, what's going to happen? And she doesn't say anything.
They even alluded to that in the previous episode, because it was told when they first got there.
Yeah.
He was like, look, we're going to go in here and we'll talk to this dude. This dude got all these wives. Don't look at him. Don't touch them. Whatever. They're his daughters or whatever.
Yeah.
And he uses them to bear him more daughters, and then he marries them, and that's how he keep it. And someone mentioned, okay, well, what happens if he has they have a boy?
Right. Yeah.
And then again, no one says anything.
Yeah.
So they're building like this mystery of what happens to the male children.
And we see that play out at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was a really, really important scene in this particular episode. But then going to that scene with Daenerys, when they find the head of one of the Dothraki, one of her generals, I think his name was Ricardo.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if that's a relative or the brother of Drogo, because I know they keep saying like blood of my. Now I don't know if that's just a saying that they say between them, but to me, even from the last episode, it felt like the connection that she had with Ricardo, that it seemed like he may have been like a brother or something to Drogo.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. And definitely let me know in the comments if you know. But his horse comes back with his decapitated head in there.
Yeah.
And that comes to actually the title of our episode, the Nightlands, where I guess one of the Dothraki women comes over to mourn him, and she says like, they cut his head off, and like he won't be with his ancestors in the Nightlands. And Daenerys reassures her that like we'll burn his body, he will be with his ancestors in the Nightlands. And I just thought that was another great scene, showing Daenerys becoming a leader to these people. And kind of a heartbreaking scene as well, going back to that moment that they had before he rode off to try to find refuge for his people.
Oh, you knew he wasn't coming back with that, that dialogue.
Yeah, true. So I thought that was a really good scene. The brothel, man. I wrote here, man. I said Baelish is on that pimp shit.
Yeah, he cold with it, man.
Man, he is straight a pimp on here, man. Oh, okay. So last episode, one of the chicks, I don't know if it's like one of his like his bottom bitch or the high priestess or whoever it is, was so she's all like, she's like all frazzled, and she's kind of like
don't try to downplay. She's seen a fucking baby get murdered in front of her. She's distraught. Like she's fucked up.
Yeah, she is.
Like, and it wasn't even like drive by. This baby got stabbed. Like they stabbed the baby.
Yeah, and so the mother of that child, someone named Megan, I guess is not working or whatnot. And so Baelish is basically telling this story about bad investments. And it's like he has to mitigate his bad investments and tells this story, and this is like, look, I'll give you the night off, but
basically the story was, I had another girl working for me, and she was crying and wasn't getting me paid like you are, and I had this other dude offer me a shitload of money to cut her up and mutilate her or whatever, and I took the money, so I made good on my investment. If you keep crying, your ass getting cut up. Basically, that's what the story was.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Very fucked up. And I knew Baelish was like this like slimy dude, but I didn't know he was that cold.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know he was.
Oh yeah,
because for some reason I forgot that scene, but man, he was on his pimp shit with that one, man.
Oh yeah, he's greasy. He's real grimy. Like right before that.
Oh. Man, that's another thing I want to go to too, man. Is how funny, and I noticed this in season 2 when I first watched and binged the show, and I think I noticed this in season 2 is how funny this show is. And this show has some situational humor, and some character humor, and there's some moments that are just fucking hilarious. And this moment where this dude comes out, and I don't know if he's like trying to find some chick or somebody that he's trying to be with.
No. That guy, he's upset because old girl ain't performing. He paid money, but she's crying.
Oh, that's right. That's the
girl that Peter Baelish goes to.
Yeah. Okay. I was getting that confused. So some girl finishes. She finishes up from her last session, and she's not all cleaned up.
You got some.
You got something in your mouth right there.
Like this.
So Baelish basically just wipes her off and gives the chick to the dude, and she basically just starts tonguing the cat. And it's like, dude, I don't think you know where that mouth been.
Bruh. But at the end of the day, you kissing a chick in a brothel.
Exactly.
You can just rule out where her mouth been. But just little did he know it was just there. Where her mouth had been, it was just there at that spot. Like,
exactly. No Listerine or nothing. Like, come on, man.
That's nasty as shit. That's so nasty.
Yeah. Tyrion and Lord Janis with Bronn.
Oh man!
Now Baelish was some pimp shit. This was some gangster shit.
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about with your boy Tyrion. Like he just has certain scenes where you're like, that's my dude. Like that shit was gangster.
So tight, man. And within this scene, I was gonna say like in the show in this world, I mean, Tyrion being a dwarf, a smaller person. He's called an imp in this scene, as a matter of fact. Tyrion knows he's not a warrior. He says it in the show. He's not a fighter.
Yeah.
He knows size-wise, he doesn't measure up to the other men or even women in where he lives, and
he uses
his brain.
Yeah.
And his. I mean, that's probably like my favorite thing about the show is the writing for Tyrion, because you have to, whereas with Jaime you could show him in an action scene where he's living up to the title of being like one of the greatest swordsmen. You could show like Daenerys riding atop of dragons. We could see her riding atop of dragons, coming from a place of having and being considered nothing to that. So how do we show like Tyrion's attributes and show him being a badass? And with Tyrion, it's all in dialogue. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be sharp dialogue. Some of it is, but like a lot of the times it's just Tyrion reading a room. Mm-hmm. It's Tyrion reading the people in that room and people he's conversing with.
He knows how to maneuver his way through all that.
My goodness, and break those people down.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Perfect example of that. Knowing what happened in the last episode because Lord Janis, I guess it was he's the commander of the City Watch, mm-hmm. and those were the people that went around to kill all the babies of Robert Baratheon's bastards. And so Tyrion finds this out. So I guess Cersei makes Janis a lord. So now he's Lord Janis.
Yeah.
So he goes to talk to him, and now he breaks him down. And because Tywin Lannister, his father, is out at war, he's the hand of the king to Joffrey, and so he basically tells him, "It's like, look, you've been denounced as the commander of the Night Watch.
Yeah.
My man Braun is going to take over.
Yeah.
We got a ship waiting for you. So you'll be good out there.
They sending his ass to the wall.
They send him to the wall. Yeah, to the Night Watch.
That's crazy.
But just the way that whole scene played out, I thought was just absolutely, like you say, the writing, the performances, and just like you say, just Tyrion being able to break people down and read the room and just know how to. He knows his angles. He knows his angles, man. And
that's because he knows the people. He says it in the scene with the spider. When he's the spider kind of threatens Tyrion, like, you might want to be careful with this woman here who's not supposed to be here. I know she's here, so you might want to be my friend. So on his way out, Tyrion's like, yo, don't threaten me again, man.
Yeah.
I'm not Ned Stark. I know the game. I know how it's played. Yeah. And like that is Tyrion encapsulated. Like that's
Absolutely.
him. Like I know the game. I know how it's played. Yeah, you fight. You need ships, and you need knights, and you need soldiers and stuff like that. But you also need to listen, and you also need to know people, and you need to know what to say.
Yeah.
And Tyrion does it, man. He's gotten himself out of so much shit in this show just by talking.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I don't know. He's just like the fact that someone who can be counted out or the underdog, or in this case, counted out an underdog because of his size and his stature. When people judge a book by the cover, its cover. I love that Tyrion is that character that people do that to, and then he subverts all expectations.
Every time.
9 times out of 10, he's the smartest one in the room.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I just love that about that character. But yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
And then Theon goes home to the Iron Islands.
Okay, yeah, I have that. I think there's another scene, but we can talk about that.
Oh, which one?
No, the one with Arya and Gendry when he finds out her secret.
So that's.
Yeah.
I didn't remember. I did not remember that Gendry knew, like at this point.
Yeah.
I thought early. Yeah. I thought it was maybe later on that he found out. But I don't know. If that scene goes to just flesh out Gendry more and establish him as a decent person, as another decent person.
Absolutely. And some great bits of comedy when he finds out that she's he's like, you're a lady. It's like I'm sorry about that joke about pissing, whipping your cock out and trying to piss.
Yeah.
And he just profusely tries to apologize and keeps calling her. He's like, don't call me a lady. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, my lady. Yeah. And so it was just that little banter back and forth between the two of them. But it definitely does show their relationship, that camaraderie, and also just establishes more so just how good of a person Gendry is, especially the fact that he says he's going to keep her secret.
Which doesn't spell good things for him, because like if you're a good person in Westeros, you die.
Yeah.
You die.
I know.
So I mean, you die if you're a bad person too, but you die first if you're a good person. So I don't know. Surprised that Gendry made it this long, like in the show.
Yeah, no, he's still with us.
Yeah,
going to season 8, he's still with us.
So I'd be curious to see what happens in this season.
Theon, Balon, and Yara, that reunion.
So I'm pretty sure, like on the boat, on the ship, Theon had that shit going totally different. He's probably man, when they get there, they'll be like, oh shit, Theon's home, son.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a party on the docks and all. Yeah, from the time he got off the boat, like shit just did not go his way.
Nope, not at all.
Yara picks him up. And he's sitting there flirting with and filling up his sister. The whole time he didn't know it was his sister.
He's been gone for 9 years.
Yeah.
And I wonder how old Theon is supposed to be, because Balon says he was like, he's had you for 9 years, which is longer than I had you. So I'm thinking, is he supposed to be like 17, 18 years old or something?
In the show, I can't say, but I do know, like in the books, like not everyone, but like a lot of these characters, especially like Theon, but like Arya and them, like they're really young.
Yeah, I know, because Daenerys is supposed to be like 14 or something years old in the books, and so I mean I don't know, but I just remember that line that Balon said, because he's been gone for 9 years, and if he's had him longer than he was with Balon, then it couldn't have been no more than 9, so he has to be no more than 18. At least, but like I said, they could have changed stuff for the show, but that's neither here or there. But that reunion with Balon in that throne room, I guess you can call it the throne room.
Yeah.
The reunion he has with his father goes to your point. It did not go the way that he thought, as far as like the way his father kind of embraced him, or what he thought his father was going to embrace him back in. But yeah, he basically just calls him out as far as being with the Starks and trying to tell him like, look, they took you away from. Don't you realize that Robb Stark, who's asking for his alliance for his ships, but these are the same people that killed your brothers and took you away from your home.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I always thought that was interesting, an interesting dynamic for that character of Theon.
Like all season 1 in the first season, like, and pun intended, like Theon's all cocksure. Like he's just he's sleeping with all these women, and he's just so full of himself. But like this episode, from here on out, like he's just gonna get knocked down. Like,
I know,
a bunch of pegs. And I didn't. In hindsight, I'm thinking it happened later on in the series, but at the very least, you could see it starting right here because he's not hot. He's not the hot shit. At the very least, the reception he gets from the people at Pike, then he's not the hot shit that he was in season 1 or that he thinks he is prior to getting off that boat.
Yeah, and he basically says that Yara's going to command the ships, and I don't think they're going to go ahead with that alliance with the Starks. Because he even mentions, he was like, are you going to go and attack the Lannisters? And his father says, who said anything about attacking the Lannisters? So I don't know if he's implying that they're actually going to try to go back to war with the Starks because of how they rebelled against them with Ned Stark.
That's ultimately what Balon wants. That's ultimately what he wants at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But as we know, like that doesn't happen. At the very least, it hasn't happened yet on the show.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really, really great scene, especially for all of those characters to really establish where they are in the show right now.
Yeah.
Cersei and Tyrion, where she talks about him being funny and the whole thing with his mother. Because then, we start to really see why she has this animosity towards Tyrion, and that's always been talked about their mother and the fact that she blames him for the death of their mother, of him being born.
So their mom dies during childbirth, giving birth to Tyrion.
Yeah,
and it's funny because in this, like, more than once throughout this series, that's used as a jab to Tyrion, and you can see how much
it affects him.
That hurts him.
It does, yeah.
And it's, you have to, it's hurting because firstly, what's being said, it's just some cold-blooded shit. But then, like, when you're getting that resentment, that hate, that anger from your sibling,
your family, I know, that's what I'm saying.
They're blaming you for that. Like that's got to be so hard. But again, knowing that Tyrion carries that with him throughout the entire series, even when there's no scenes to showcase or highlight that. But again, one of the things I love about him the most is that he can walk into a room whistling or whatever and change the course of a conversation or the outcome of something based on his intellect, and he's doing all that with carrying this pain or having that particular wound. He's doing it in spite of that. Like he's still, I don't know, like he's in spite of the hate that he gets, and he's getting hate from his sister. His damn father don't like him. He's estranged from his brother, so to speak, in a way because of the war or whatever. And he has to try to keep all the plates spinning and keep all the balls in the air because Joffrey's fucking shit up. Cersei ain't making the best decision, so he's got to try to keep her at bay because she wants to kill him, but also help Joffrey rule and not have things go tits up under his rule. So he's doing like a whole bunch, and then ultimately he's going to end up going and try to be an advisor to Dany and all that. So he's got so much stuff going on, but at the same time, like he's shouldering all of that with the stuff that Cersei is throwing at him, because you see it in his face that hurts him when she says that,
and she knows that hurts, and that's why, and that's part of Cersei's character, at least at this point in the show. But yeah, that I thought that was a really, really powerful scene between the two of them, and just kind of really lets you know where these two are with each other and their relationship. Final scene, man. Craster takes the baby, the sacrificial lamb to.
Why'd you say it like that?
I don't know. It just felt like certain words.
Yo, that whole scenario is fucked up. You don't need you saying it in a weird voice to make it more fucked up. Yo, it's crazy. So, like we were talking about earlier, what happens to the male babies is finally revealed in this scene.
Yep. Man, so going back to that scene with Gilly, where she kind of throws in that remark, like, if I have a boy, and, Jon Snow tries to find out. So Jon Snow, it's at night, and Jon Snow sees Craster sneaking out with a baby in hand. So he follows him out there, and he sees that, he sees Craster coming back from deep in the woods. And he doesn't have the baby with him. Yeah. So Jon Snow goes a little bit further to investigate, and he sees the baby. He hears the baby crying. So then he goes out to investigate a little bit further. He sees the baby lying there, and then he sees one of the White Walkers picks the baby up and walks away. Yeah. And so then he turns around, and Craster's right there and knocks him out. So my thinking is. I'm assuming Craster is sacrificing these baby boys to the Night King as some type of peace treaty for staying where he is on that side of the wall. Yeah. To give these to re-up his army of the dead with these baby boys, with these warriors for his army, but. Like I said, it's cold blooded. It's a cold blooded thing to do to these women who have to give up their children. That I don't know, man. It was.
But it does add urgency to Gilly's plight in her case. So to
try to get out of there. Yeah.
Because Jon makes a good. So when Sam first brings it up to him. Like, yo, I just met this chick Gilly. She's real cool. She's also pregnant, and we also gotta smuggle her out of here. Jon Snow is like, dude, we can't do that. That's impossible. Homeboy already told us what he'd do if he catch you looking at his daughter, and you want to try to smuggle her out like this. Not happening. But now, Jon seeing what happens to these babies, obviously Jon's gonna be like, all right,
he's got no choice.
We gotta get her up out of here.
Yeah, because if he doesn't, then that's gonna stay on his conscience, knowing what's happening to these babies once they're born. And like you say, just like how you said with Gendry and Ned Stark, Jon is a good dude, and he's not gonna allow that to happen.
No.
And we see that throughout the series of the show with a lot of choices that Jon makes, these noble choices that Jon makes, even if it backfires on him.
Yeah.
So that is episode 2, The Nightlands.
It's crazy because it ends on that cliffhanger. You just see like Craster, coming towards the camera like that, and it cuts to black. Yeah. I honestly don't remember what happens next. Like I don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I know nothing happens to Jon. He's gonna wake up with a knot on his head, but I don't remember like what Craster says as far as like, yo, you was spying on me. You shouldn't have been out there. I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what that.
So I'm actually looking forward to that too.
Yeah. We're going to get to that, episode 3 and the rest of season 2. This is the Game of Thrones recap and review. We are leading towards episode 8, the final epic season to end the greatest show ever made. Yes, I said it. The greatest show ever made. All right. So make sure you can follow me at TheTurtleDork. Follow this guy here at TheDiscoDork. Follow the podcast at ItModcast. Make sure you follow our other dorks at MouthDork, at he's right here. Like I'm doing one of my trailer reactions. At MouthDork, at WB Das, and at Sidewalk Siren.
Yeah.
So I'm TheTurtleDork, and with that, we're out.